we have a new YouTube channel, and we need you to subscribe to the new channel because we're not uploading or streaming on the old channel anymore. It's still the Voice of Stockton.
It's gonna be fresh, brand new
content,
great content.
Yeah,
only exclusively on KXVS.
Yes, if you and on this video will be a link in the description where you can click it, but if you want to type it in, we made it real easy for you. You know, bit.ly, the short link, bit.ly, so you can type bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. So bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. That's easy enough, right, Donovan? Donovan is a silent minority.
Speechless.
I'm trying to get my accent right. Hold on. I'm just throwing over it in my head. Let me start. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. How to do it? All right, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go subscribe to this new channel. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yo, what's different about this channel than the last one?
Well,
what's changed?
Well, we're making some changes. We're always doing something new, but this is something that we had to do this, and we've had to do this for a while. So this new channel, it's really not much different, except the channel will be different. So all our new content is going on the channel, and we're going to migrate all our videos over to that channel as well, and we won't be using the old channel. So if you're waiting on that channel, you'll be missing it. So please do subscribe to our new channel, and it's real easy. You know, follow us on Facebook, thevoiceofstockton.org. You can find us everywhere. Keep watching us on our live streams, but that's it. We just wanted to break in and tell you that.
And let's make Stockton better together.
That's right. Make Stockton better together. All right. So, you know what? Let's start this track over because this is the best bomb song. And thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, with Donovan and Mr. Details, Dustin Breakwell. This is Governor Don signing off.
My name is Josh, and you're listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM. Catch us live on Facebook, YouTube, and the TuneIn app.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
And it's time for the one and only best rated show at 6 p.m. on Monday nights. The one and only Stockton Alive with your host, Nate Knodt.
Yeah, we're putting the exclamation mark in Stockton, and we're beating down the competition.
Hey Nate, though, real quick.
Yeah.
I got some really like interesting. How would we say this? Breaking news.
Is that a little bumper music there for the breaking news?
Yeah.
That's great. I
like
love
that.
it.
Breaking news. Stockton has a new minor league sports team, as we have two currently. The Stockton Heat of the American Hockey League, who are affiliated with the Calgary Flames, and the Stockton Ports of the California League, who are affiliated with the Oakland Athletics.
Right.
The third is the one and only Sacramento Kings, which is about 57 minutes up the road on 99. Gold One Center. They will have a brand new team here in Stockton, California. Well, it's not brand new. It's in Reno currently. It's their minor league development team in the G League, the Gatorade League, which will be coming to Stockton this upcoming fall.
We like to pick up these gambling teams.
Yeah.
We picked up the Las Vegas Broadway Boardwalk Bullies, which became the Thunder. Now we're picking up the Reno Development Basketball Team. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting because now it means the Stockton and Reno will have, two regularly scheduled teams.
In the fall, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be nice, between hockey and basketball. And it'll be fun to see how the basketball crowds react to this.
This has always been a basketball town. You've been here longer than I have.
Historically, the team that probably generated the most excitement from year to year since the 1960s on was Pacific men's basketball. And, of course, we've already talked about that many times on the show, so we won't recap much of it. But we had that incredible decade of the 60s into the early 70s where the Tigers were just virtually unbeatable in the Stockton Memorial Civic Auditorium. And they were under this legendary coach, Dick Edwards. And as I've mentioned before, their home record in approximately 9 seasons in the Memorial Auditorium under Dick Edwards was something like 192 and 34. And they weren't playing chop liver either. They were playing, in those days, the West Coast Conference. Well, then it was the West Coast Athletic Conference, the WCAC.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, no, you're thinking of the Western Athletic Conference.
Yes, I am.
But it was the West Coast Athletic Conference, and then now it's been shortened to the West Coast Conference, but it is the same conference, of which Pacific is a charter member, by the way, back around 1947 or something. But the point being, the Pacific had its run of NCAA tournaments in the late 60s, and the highlight of which is they knocked off the defending national champions Texas Western, now known as Texas El Paso. Also, that was the great team.
With the late great... who was head coach? Sorry for cutting you off.
That's all right. Yeah, right. Died in an auto accident or something, if I remember right.
Don Haskins? No.
Yes, that's right. And that was the famous national championship where they put only the black guys out on the floor that night. They had white guys on the team, but they played all black that night to beat Adolph Rupp in Kentucky.
Yeah, Don Haskins.
Yeah, that's right. And anyway, that team had that history-making season for which there's been a famous movie and everything.
Glory Road.
Yeah, Glory Road. I was trying to think of the name of it, yes. I knew Road was in there somewhere, but I couldn't think of the title. Well, it's the very next year Pacific defeated them.
Wow.
They knocked off the defending national champions in the NCAA tournament in the 66-67 tournament. Texas Western won the national championship in the 65-66 season. So anyway, and then of course we had the era under Thomason where they had 2 different sets of really good teams that went to the NCAAs. They had the Michael Olowokandi team, which sort of brought the whole program back. Thomason came in when this program was really down in the dumps. They had gone 0-18 in the Pacific Coast Athletic Association, which later morphed into the Big West. And he got there, and they were 3-24 and 0-18 in league, and then Thomason took over. First year he got them to 7-21 and something like 3-11 in league, and then the next year they were 500. And then and then Olowokandi came along, and bingo, they're in the NCAA playoffs and then the NIT. But even better was when they had the team made up of a lot of the kind of what we call the European white guys, Christian Marikar and some other people, Jasko Yakovic. I can't think of his exact name right now, but they had a great lineup, these guys. And they had 3 consecutive years in the NCAA tournament. They won the first round game twice, and the third year is when they had the phantom foul call that cost them a huge upset over Boston College. And if you looked at the bracket, the way things were lined up, Pacific could have made it. If they'd have gotten past that game, they could have gone to the Elegant 8 with a real good shot at it. But anyway, that's all. The point is, to go along with what you're saying, probably in Stockton, prior to the modern era of hockey and the Newport Stadium and various other things that have gone on, probably prior to all that, the number one thing over the years was basketball with Pacific. Delta had some pretty good years. Delta had a team, I think, called the Whiz Kids or Century Kids. I know Stagg High School had an incredible basketball team, which later became the Delta team primarily that I'm talking about. That's all in the mid-'60s. Pacific's football glory was back in the late 40s and early 50s, and then by the 60s they kind of shifted down to a lower status, and then of course the last 20, 30 years of program just basically tried to survive. Now the Ports had a great reign also in the 60s. 60s was a great decade for Stockton sports. The Stockton Ports were then Baltimore Oriole affiliates, and all those great Baltimore Orioles teams that went to three straight World Series, the 69, 70, and 71 Orioles, that was made up of a lot of Stockton Ports players from the early 60s.
Brooks Robinson was on that team.
I
don't know if he played in Stockton, though.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of the guys that you may not have played for Stockton were in the California League. California League was a very good, and still is a very good league. Dwayne Kuiper played, I think, with the Reno Silver Sox or something like that. He remembers Billy Hebert Field. He's talked about it a couple times briefly on Giants broadcasts.
Now, which is all turf?
Yes. So anyway, yeah, it's very exciting, and like we say, it keeps the Stockton Arena buzzing more, twice the dates it would otherwise, roughly speaking. I'll be going to the hockey game this Saturday night.
The Ports were the Baltimore Orioles affiliate from 1959 to 1971.
Yeah, they were there a long time with
And also
that.
the Brewers for a couple times.
Right,
Yeah.
they did and they actually had to suspend operations for a couple of years in the mid '70s when the attendance had dwindled to nothing and they didn't have much promotion. And then they were brought back by the Seattle Mariners. For 1 year, they were the Stockton Mariners. Now they continued being affiliated with Seattle, but they went back to the name Ports. Then, of course, for a while they tried the gimmick of called the Mudville Nine, and even registered the trademark and then took the trademark to Visalia. When that ownership group was not able to secure a new stadium, they gave up and sold the team off. That was in the late 90s or around 2000 or something. I think they were the Mudville Nine from 98, 2001 or something like that. Somewhere in that era, they were a minor league affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds.
2002.
Yeah, and then they came back, I think, to the Brewers and then to the Texas Rangers for a while. And I think they were Texas Rangers affiliates until the A's made them the affiliate when they moved, which coincided with moving into the new stadium.
The Rangers 03 to 04, then the Athletics 05 to
Right.
now. Still.
Yeah, and 05 is when they moved into the Stockton ballpark.
Yeah.
Hard to believe that ballpark is now in its 13th season or something like that.
Still looks brand new.
It still looks brand new. And the arena still looks great. And the arena's hosted, NCAA women's basketball. In fact, as we know, one of the team went to the national championship game the previous year, came through the Stockton Regional. And they print the regionals. I think I showed it here one time, maybe I can't remember, but they print the regionals for both the men's and the women's entire tournament in the World Almanac. So if you go to the 2017 World Almanac covering the 2016. I take that back. I'm sorry. If you go to the World Almanac this year for 2018, it shows the 2017 brackets, and there's a Stockton Regional in the World Almanac. So anyway, that's very exciting. Now, I was talking to you before the show. I wasn't terribly excited about the end. I loved all the upsets throughout the entire tournament, but when we finally got to the final game, or the final four, I should say, sure enough, you had 3 number 1 seeds, and you had Loyola, whom you and I were...
Actually, it was 2 number 1 seeds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Villanova and Kansas.
Okay.
And Michigan was the 3rd seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I meant to say,
okay.
weren't they all number 1 seeds in their regionals, though?
No, Michigan wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I take that back then. Although,
But Michigan played like a 1 seed.
They did.
Basically the whole tournament.
And they're always a contender along with Michigan State and a bunch of other people. And I kind of yawn when these teams get in there because I know that the announcers go on and, oh, it's so great. We've got 2 number 1 teams, obviously the best teams in the nation facing up, blah, blah. I'd rather see an upset team in there. It makes for a better story. I'll give an example, and it makes usually for better TV ratings if you don't always have the number 1 seeds in there. I'll give you an example. The highest rated Super Bowl to this day by ratings, not by total viewers, because with the growth of population and television sets and flat screens and all that, it's bigger. But in terms of actual ratings, the number 1 Super Bowl is still the January 1982 Super Bowl in the Pontiac Silverdome between the San Francisco 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals, because the public was tired at that point of the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers and all these teams and Miami Dolphins who had just pretty much dominated the 70s. And those teams were great. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Miami was as good as it got. Pittsburgh won 5 Super Bowls over a few years. Dallas, America's team. But with the exception maybe of Dallas, they weren't very exciting to watch. I mean, Miami just kind of rammed it down your throat with Zonka. And if you look at the Super Bowl stats, Greasy, and some of those only threw 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And they just kind of pounded teams into submission and won Super Bowls like, 20-3. And, well, they beat Washington 14-7, but that's because Washington intercepted a goofy pass by Gary Yepremian. It was really 14-0, about to be 17-0. Pittsburgh beat Minnesota 16-6. These games were pretty dull.
Who was the starting quarterback that day for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Shoot, I know who it is. Ken Anderson.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time, I think.
Oh, I agree. He was a great quarterback. And if he'd have just won that Super Bowl, then he probably would have gotten a whole lot more publicity and attention than he did get.
I didn't even know the head coach was Foster Gregg. I thought it was Sam Weish.
Yeah, Sam Weish had the next Cincinnati team that the 49ers then faced. Sam Weish, of course, had been a former 49ers quarterback coach.
Yeah.
He coached Montana.
With Bill Walsh.
Right, exactly. And Sam Weiss was always and he was a quarterback himself, by the way, in his younger days. And he was in the NFL. He was always a backup quarterback, but he was there, and he did play some games. So anyway.
And if you remember, though, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's right.
The Cincinnati Bengals beat that year the San Diego Chargers in one of the coldest games ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
You know, it was
it's
the
not
coldest.
even
It
fair.
really was the coldest game. It was actually colder than the Ice Bowl.
Yeah, it was called the Freezer Bowl.
Yeah, it just doesn't get the publicity because it wasn't much of a game.
Imagine this, a minus 59 wind chill.
I know. I remember watching that game.
Poor Dan Fouts.
Yeah, and Cincinnati won something like 24-3, and it was just a terrible game.
Yeah.
Even Cincinnati didn't play that well.
27-7.
Yeah. Oh, 27-7. Okay, and he'll tell you to this day, what's his name for San Diego, Fouts, that he just did not play well. That he just couldn't do it.
It was a couple of those.
And
games.
his receivers dropped a couple big passes.
I believe it was that game and also the game versus Miami a couple of years later.
Now, what makes that even more dramatic about the temperature and all that is it was just the week before that Cincinnati had won a remarkably wild playoff game over Miami in the Orange Bowl in about 88 or 89 degree temperature, and that was the one that went double overtime, and there was dramatic block kicks and dramatic lateral pitches for touchdowns at the end of games and all kinds of wild stuff. And actually everyone felt that when San Diego had beaten Miami, they had proven they were the best team in the AFC and they were going to go to the Super Bowl. And they might have if they could have played Cincinnati in any kind of reasonable temperature situation.
Can you name the, just real quick, you're a broadcasting guy, name the 49ers play-by-play guy at that time.
Let's see. We're talking which Super Bowl now?
Super Bowl 1982.
You talking about the 82? Don Klein, former
okay.
play-by-play announcer of Stanford.
You got it right.
Oh, I love Don Klein.
Yeah.
I was so thrilled he got to have that big moment since he never got to. Well, I take that back. He did go to a couple Rose Bowls with Stanford, but I was thrilled that he got to be the 49ers play-by-play announcer. Likewise, I was thrilled that Lon Simmons got to go to the other Cincinnati one and announce that victory.
Yeah.
And then Joe Starkey, who was once the relatively unknown radio play-by-play man of the long-lamented and sadly pathetic California Golden Seals NHL team that used to be in Oakland, he got to do the other couple of 49ers Super Bowls. So all of their longtime play-by-play broadcasters ultimately got a Super Bowl.
And on CBS radio, it was Jack Buck and Hank Stram.
Oh, yeah.
The radio call.
Yes. And Hank Stram was always amazing, as is currently true with John Gruden and a few others today. They can almost tell you what play the team is going to run before they line up.
I've heard that about Hank Stram.
Yeah, he was great at that. In fact, I think CBS, and he was on CBS television for a long time with Vince Scully.
Yeah.
See, we get Vince Scully in there again. See, it was Vince Scully and Hank Stram that did the CBS broadcast of the game with the drive and the catch.
Yes, nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody plays the, I believe, Jack Buck call.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
on
the commercials, everybody.
Yeah, you get a few Vince Scully's too. I can tell you how Vince Scully did it. Montana rolls out. He's looking. He's waiting. He's throwing. It's caught for a touchdown. Caught by Clark.
People forget Vince Scully was a good football announcer.
Very good football announcer.
Did golf too.
Yeah, he was
the
good at golf.
Masters.
Yeah.
And I believe he did. That's all he did. Some tennis too.
His actual original career was actually radio play-by-play of football.
Yeah.
And then Red Barber heard him or something and invited him to the Dodgers in 1947. He's like 22 or 23 years old. He originally started doing Fordham basketball.
And who was on the call for CBS television that day? Do you know that?
For which one?
The television of this game.
Which game are we talking about, though?
Super Bowl
that was the first pairing ever of Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Correct.
And actually, Vince Scully quit CBS after that season because Vince Scully, as great a job as he did with Hank Stram in the NFC Championship game, which was probably one of the great games of all time. Vince Scully was furious he didn't get to do the Super Bowl, and he quit CBS. He never announced network football again after that game.
Yeah.
So Vince Scully wasn't on the lineup,
and he helped John Madden get his legs
That's true.
set as a color commentator.
Yeah, they paired John Madden with like 6 different people before they realized that he was great. He just needed to be at the top, and being at the top was with Pat Summerall.
And Summerall was good too.
Right. Well, the thing was about Summerall and Madden.
He was a minimalist.
Madden was the guy that yelled and screamed and boomed and banged and knocked things down and pounded his fist. And they knew the perfect pairing was him with the understated, economical worded, deep-throated Pat Summerall.
One-word answer sometimes.
Yeah. Pat Summerall used the least amount of words of any play-by-play announcer.
That's what he said to be a great play-by-play announcer, to be a minimalist.
Well, on television, yes.
Yes,
now,
on
radio,
television,
more. And Pat Summerall even did NBA basketball for a while.
He did?
Yeah,
I had no clue he did that.
Yeah, when CBS first took over the contract from ABC, Pat Summerall.
How was that?
How
was that?
He was okay. He wasn't the quickest speaking person.
Wasn't
in the
Dick
world.
Stockton the lead play-by-play announcer for?
He was on and
basketball?
off. Yeah, he was quite a bit. And then when ABC had it before CBS, it was our college play-by-play guy. Whoa, Nelly.
Oh, Keith Jackson.
Yeah, Keith Jackson was originally the ABC guy. Now, Keith Jackson was the ABC play-by-play man on the first year of Monday Night Football. But they decided he could better use him for college football, and they brought in, and they decided he was a really great announcer. Decided that didn't really need a great announcer because it was more of an entertainment show than a sporting event, at least in some people's minds. So they were able to bring in Frank Gifford, who by that time was unhappy with CBS, so it all worked out. Frank Gifford wasn't really a very good play-by-play man, but he was okay for Monday Night Football.
Pat Summerall also did, the Masters and U.S. Open.
Oh, he did all
tennis.
of that, yes.
Yeah.
So with that having been said, that all has just about nothing to do with
I know, we're sorry about that. By the way,
you're looking at two former one current and one former sports.
If you want to watch a great sports documentary, NFL Does a Football Life, look at the Pat Summerall one.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's also the Voices of the Game. There's several documentaries out there that are pretty good. There's also documentaries about the NFL and the AFL and the Super Bowl and all that. So getting back to Stockton, this all started because we have see how exciting it is to talk about an NBA development team in Stockton. It leads to another monologue by you and I about Vince Scully and his entire career and everybody else. For you Stocktonians, we're going to put the exclamation mark back out there, and now we'll talk about our beloved city of Stockton. Now, I'd made a simple comparison today. A colleague of mine flew to Des Moines, Iowa, and she'll be there for a 2-day conference.
That must be fascinating.
So I was thinking, Des Moines, I didn't remember exactly how big it was, and I'm going to make a discussion about Stockton's population versus Des Moines and some things about that, because we're a bigger city than people realize, and I'm going to explain why it is they don't realize it.
Are we bigger than Cincinnati also?
Well, we're either just past them or just behind them, but I think we just passed them. We're right on also on the heels of St. Louis. But anyway, so...
That's interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, I looked it up in Des Moines, 215,000. We're about 310. We might be 315 now also, so we're about 100,000 more than Des Moines. But Des Moines has the advantage of being a very critically important regional city in a large multi-state area. And so people, probably if you poll people throughout the entire United States, more people might be familiar with Des Moines than Stockton. But that's the reason for that is because... And this is why we have such a hard time with our kind of self-inflicted inferiority complex and some other things about Stockton. We're overshadowed by 3 great cities in California, 2 of which are nearby. We've got Sacramento, the capital, and we've got San Francisco in the Bay Area, along with San Jose, Silicon Valley, the East Bay, and all kinds of other things. Then you've got Los Angeles, obviously, and Disneyland and all that down in Southern California, and San Diego. So Stockton has to compete with San Diego, Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Jose, San Francisco, and Sacramento for attention in California. Mm-hmm. And population-wise, we're pretty good, but in California, our population is not that impressive. When you figure you've got L.A. at about 3.3 million or something like that, and you've got San Diego at around... I want to say 900,000. San Jose has topped the million mark.
Wow.
San Jose is now the 3rd largest city in the state of California, if I remember right, by population.
Actually,
San Diego's ahead of San Diego. So it's L.A., San Diego, San Jose, then it's San Francisco, which has ballooned back up to about 850,000.
Santa Clara's growing too.
Right. When I lived in San Francisco another lifetime ago, 30 plus years ago.
Don't date yourself, Nate.
682,000, and now I know that was the lowest debit ever had in population. Now it's up to 850,000. It can't get much bigger than that, actually, and it's 48 square miles. Then Oakland tops in at about 420-something thousand. Sacramento's now about 420-something thousand, and then you've got Stockton at 315,000.
I wonder how much Elk Grove is actually now too.
Bakersfield's ahead of us in population.
Oh, makes sense.
They swept by us about 3 years ago. And they're, I think, 2 spots ahead of us. We're something like the 60th. I always used to have this number memorized. I think we're 63rd largest city in the nation by population, but Bakersfield's 2 ahead of us. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was saying, wonder what Elk Grove is now because it's growing.
I
too.
can tell you because we
Okay.
were just there. My son lives there. About 173,000.
Well, that's growing.
Which just boggles my mind that Elk Grove's 100 because it used to be like 20,000 or something when I used
and
to
they
drive
have like
through there.
how many high schools? 8 or something.
So I don't think
Crazy.
they got a big number. And they made a serious bid for the Sacramento soccer team.
Yes, they did.
I forgot what that team is called.
Sacramento Republic.
Yes, that's right. And I believe they're building a new stadium in downtown Sacramento now, somewhere near the railroad yard.
We were
or
talking
something.
about Des Moines, so we were
Well,
talking.
yeah, the point I was making is Des Moines is smaller in population, but it's more well known because it's a huge regional city
No, yeah, I was talking.
in an area that doesn't have many cities with
Yeah,
population.
the regional kind of, let's say, the biggest cities next to it. The 2 biggest cities next to it is Omaha, which
Right.
is Nebraska.
Right.
Down Highway 80 or Interstate 80, and then down Interstate 35, it's Kansas City.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
So
exactly right. It's
triangle.
actually in that area, in about a 5-state area, Des Moines is like the 3rd biggest, most important city, and it gets more publicity because of that. Omaha is. I was thinking of that.
I heard
about
it's a nice
Omaha.
city though. Omaha.
Oh yeah, it is, and it's also the corporate home of 2 major U.S. corporations.
Yes, it is.
It's home to Union Pacific Railroad, and it's home to Warren Buffett,
Warren
who
Buffett.
owns the BNSF Railroad. We
Warren-
talked about that once before.
He does.
He wrote a check for cash. I can't.
I know he's a big-
laughing. One day he's pulled out his checkbook and wrote a check for like $47 billion and bought the BNSF lock, stock, and barrel with cash.
I know
in
he's
a
a big-
single transaction.
I know he's a big Coca-Cola fan too.
Yes. So anyway, so ironically, Omaha is the corporate home of the Union Pacific Railroad, which is the biggest railroad in the world and the longest existing railroad in the world using the same corporate name. And its original corporate name.
It's also home to the College World Series.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And then, in the same town, the resident who lives there owns the other biggest railroad in the United States, the BNSF. So that's just amazing. But yeah, so Omaha's there. By the way, I'm sure you know this because you're a historian, but the Kings are from Omaha also.
Yes, they are.
When they left Cincinnati as the Royals and became the Kansas City Kings, they actually, for 7 or 8 years, were the KC Omaha Kings. The Kansas City Omaha Kings. And they finally became, I think, purely, that was about 1972 they moved there. I think about 1976 or 7 they became, I think it was 76, they became purely the Kansas City Kings because Kemper Arena was built. And once they had the chance to move into Kemper Arena, they just played all their games there.
Great
'Cause-
Kansas City history. No.
Yes, the Omaha Arena was the Omaha Municipal Auditorium, something like that. It held about 8,000 something, and the Kansas City something auditorium.
You ever been to Kansas City, Nate?
Oh yeah, several times, but
Me
not
too.
recently.
It's a nice city,
It's a
actually.
great city.
Yeah.
and they've restored Union Station. They've put in a streetcar line and all kinds
They
of
redid
incredible
the
things.
airport a couple of years ago.
I have not flown in. I've only been there by train.
I've only flown in and out of Kansas City. Still haven't experienced Kansas City barbecue though.
No, there. Yeah, and I want to go to Omaha or Des Moines for that matter for a steak.
Do they have good steaks there?
Well, Omaha is the home of steaks, or used to be at one time. And
Interesting.
Kansas City's known for steaks also.
Yeah.
Now Chicago can be, but because of the stockyards being there also. But primarily, when people say steak, they mean Omaha more than anything else. And Kansas City. Kansas City's the barbecue sauce capital.
Yeah, and if you want to
probably.
live in the middle of the country, live in Kansas City.
So, that's a perfect segue into what the next thing was I was going to talk about. Because, and this is a little bit redundant, which is why we didn't lead off with it today, and we've, I know people think sometimes we're trying to force it and make lemonade out of lemons, but no, I think this is really exciting stuff. I think it's the tiny wave that comes ahead of the gushing wave, which comes ahead of the tsunami wave. And we had more grand openings and things this past week. So, first of all, on Wednesday, April 4th, now this show, of course, is live tonight, but Monday, April 9th, but it could be taped and played again in the future. So
Best of.
we try to be careful about
KXCS.
this. But this week, we had the grand reopening in their beautiful new location, expanded location, elegant location of what had been known as the Alley, which featured Trail Coffee, which was the roasted coffee by Jesus Mountain Coffee. So if you followed all that, the Trail Coffee Roasters, as it's called, is now open for business in their beautiful downtown cafe location in the heart of downtown Stockton at California and Main Street. And they had a grand opening on Wednesday last week, and they had people lined up every day since then to go in there. And yes, they do brew the coffee there. on the corner of this beautiful cafe, and they're going to start serving milkshakes and other things there too, and eventually I believe some food. Right now they have pastries and coffee, all the various brands of coffee and all the types of coffee. But they, in a beautiful glass encased room, you see the brewing apparatus or the roasting apparatus. So that's there. And then the very next night, Thursday night, April 5th, this really classy, chic, incredibly good looking, sophisticated and classy women's hair salon or beauty shop featured a women's event as kind of an open house for them. They've been there a couple months, and that's the Unico Salon. It's spelled Uniqo. Unico. It's all these beautiful, trendy young ladies that do all these fancy hairstyles and all the great things you do in a beauty shop. The place is on California Street, just barely south of Weber, and the entire opening wall, or the entire facade, is a big glass wall. There is no bricks, there's no stucco, it's all glass. And the interior is mostly white. And when it starts to be dusk at night, the place just glows onto the street. It's just amazing. And it looks so cool. You would think you're in the financial district of San Francisco or something when you see this salon. And there are people who've told them, well, why did you put this salon in downtown Stockton? I mean, you could do so much better. And they said, if you don't want to come to our salon in downtown Stockton, we probably don't need your business. So those ladies have just put it right back out there. They wanted to be there. They liked being there, and it's a beautiful place, and they have solid, good business. And right now, before they become even more famous and busier, and since California Street's not 100% occupied, but now it's kind of got critical mass, you can still park pretty easily on the street right there. With the Unico Salon now on California Street, you now have you've got 4 viable businesses now on California Street, which as recently as 15 months ago had nothing, zero. A big zero, null, void, nothing. And now you've got 5 places, or four, I'm sorry. You've got that, you've got the beautifully restored facade of the family law practice. You've got that plus Unico plus Trail Coffee Roasters. Then you've got the Deliberation Room across the street, Stockton's first legitimate, beautiful downtown bar, pub, lounge, and lunch destination in about 40 years. Well, okay, in about 30 years or 25, because the last place downtown was legitimate in that way was the Shamrock Irish pub that was over near the Stockton Record Building by Stanislaus Street. Unfortunately, they went out of business under very mysterious circumstances. They had great volume of business. They were not failing. They might have not made it financially, and they'd been around for many years, so it wasn't like they just started up and didn't make it. They were there for a long time. Something weird happened there that I have never been able to find out what happened. But after they closed up and abandoned that property, then eventually that property was sucked up by the Stockton Record to build their huge new printing press building, which you wonder how much longer newspapers are going to keep printing paper editions and delivering them to people's homes. However, there's more to it than that. Just a couple months ago, our beautiful Impresso coffee shop that we used to love to go to for the pregame.
Yeah, right over here.
Yeah, right over here on the Miracle Mile, right down here in the beautiful Art Deco lobby and on the beautiful outdoor sidewalk of the former Stockton Royal Theater, is now relocated in downtown Stockton on San Joaquin Street, just near Main Street, and right near the county, inside on the ground level of the huge new county. Well, it's new as of recent memory, going back to 2010 or 2011. The county administration building. And that's a modern place, and inside is beautiful Art Deco. And it was previously known as Freedom Coffee Shop, but it did okay, but it never 100% caught on. But the gentleman decided to go back to law school, and that opened it up. And then we know that Impresso people had to leave here. And of course, Impresso has another location. I believe it's College Square on March Lane. And
right by Delta, yeah.
Yeah, and they have booming business there. But they're booming downtown, too. But wait, there's more. There's also the Terra Coffee shop and lounge now in downtown.
Yep.
That's only been there a couple of months. And they do a great job. And they're inside the Mexican Heritage Center, which is a beautiful restored lobby and building that's in the Masonic Lodge building, which is one of Stockton's best-kept secrets. We've mentioned that a couple times on this show. That's on the corner of Market and Sutter. And this beautiful Mexican Heritage Center with this beautiful Terra Coffee Roasters was formerly, many years ago, in a different environment, the Standard Oil Building of California in Stockton. Now, if you go back 18 months, what we're talking about here is all relatively recent. In the last few months, or back, if you go back to a year to 2 years ago, you've also got the Cast Iron Trading Company, the Channel Brewing Company, the Deliberation Room, Bella Vista. We have Stockton Floral, which is reopened from what used to be Cazals on California Street. And somewhat closer here on Alpine, I have not had a chance to go to an event, but we've talked about them, and they have great stuff, and they do great marketing. The in-season dining club and gardening club that's located on Alpine, which does all kinds of incredible vegetable fresh food meals. And about every third Saturday or once a month, they have a big dinner at their place, and they have special events there. And they also have gardening classes, and they also grow and sell all kinds of organic foods. And they're at all the stock markets. Something not a lot of people know about, but it's really exciting, and I'm hoping to go to an event real soon. We have the Toast Co. Theater, which is located in the annex or side room of the Stockton Floral, formerly Cazals. And that's a small little theater made up of local people that do theme-type drama plays, but they do kind of mini drama plays, and they're fairly short. They're only 27, 28 minutes long, and they did that on purpose. So people who may not want to sit in a stuffy theater and may not want to go to a live play for an hour and a half can go sit down and have a relatively short story that's fairly quick and simple. And TOSCO is actually an acronym. Let's see. It stands for Telling Our Authentic Stories in a Theater Company. I believe that's what it stands for, TOSCO. And it's run by a wonderful woman named Donna Marie. And the last time I saw her, by the way, she had this great classic retro afro. And it was just big and round and fluffy. It was incredible. She's a very charismatic young lady. And then you've got the Art Lab, which is just, 100 steps from here on the corner on the Miracle Mile, Pacific Avenue, whatever the side street is here.
I think less than that.
Yeah, it's probably 50 feet.
Yeah.
And that's taken what had been many different times a flower shop and a computer store, but had been empty for 3 or 4 years and turned into this beautiful classic. It's got kind of an Art Deco look. It's got a wraparound glass wall that's also angled outward from the bottom to the top. Very attractive building, and it's all set up with desks and easels for painting. It's an interactive lab, mostly for painting, but I think they probably do photo displays and maybe sculpting and stuff in there also. And it's also, I believe, a club. I think you can join the club, and you get many benefits and shows and training sessions. And and I believe they always have a policy of allowing walk-ins to come in. But that's only been there. I don't know if it's had a full year yet or not. I don't think so. And then let's not forget KXVS, the voice of Stockton, which is only, how long have you been here? Just a little over a year, right? Mm-hmm. Now, we were talking about the fact this being in this location here on the Miracle Mile in what is sometimes lovingly called the Peace and Freedom Building, which is behind the Art Lab and very close to the Korean Barbecue's lounge in the rear. This is relatively new. So all these things we just named, all of them have happened in Stockton in less than 2 years. None of these things existed 2 years ago. Now that's remarkable growth. It isn't quite enough yet to have tipped the scales of balance to where people from outside and the negative nabobs of Stockton, the ones who think everything's bad and terrible, why would you live here, and do you wear a flak jacket, and all those ridiculous things that people say about Stockton and Stocktonians, they don't really acknowledge all this. They want to take their clunky square wheels to Walmart or somewhere, and if you don't see a big box store somewhere, there can't be any progress there, for heaven's sakes. But so anyway, downtown is booming, and then of course we get the NBA development team. So these things, things are really starting to sizzle here a little bit. Yes, we had our downturn. Yes, we had our bankruptcy. Yes, we have all kinds of political stuff brewing with the recalls and Mayor Tubbs. And now, I don't know if you know this, there's another recall being formed for Jesus Andrade. And their main claim is that he doesn't deserve to be in office because he falsified the address for his kid's attempt to sign up for a Pop Warner team. I don't know if you knew about that headline. Remember that?
I think I've heard about that.
Yeah, he had a very serious political foe in his campaign for city council, and it so happens that person apparently was one of the major wheelers and dealers of the Pop Warner team that his son would have signed up for in the district that they lived in. So apparently he did fudge the address and did start to go with it, and then of course it became uncovered. To say that falsifying the sign up of a kid to Pop Warner is I don't know about that being a recallable offense, but anyway, the point is there is a permission. I don't exactly know what they call this. There's kind of this mini petition you have to get, and it's only 10 cities. I don't know if it's ever the same for every district or not, but for his district, which is downtown in South Stockton, part of downtown in South Stockton, Christina Fugazi is the main downtown Stockton City Councilwoman. Anyway, you have to have 10 valid signatures on this mini petition, and then you're approved to go for recall, to go out and get more. And the first time they turned it in, they only had 7. They didn't get the 10. But they can do it over again, so they probably will. So between that and the sign-up that is underway about Mayor Tubbs, there's a chance we could have a couple recall elections going along here. But even if you have these recalls going on, you and I can still go to the Channel Brewing Company for the trivia contest. They are bringing it back, I hope.
Well, me too, yeah.
I haven't heard about it yet, but I'm hoping that's on its way back. You would think that Brandon, that fire plug guy that he is, would want to keep that going. Now, I don't remember if we mentioned on this show or not, but there's also been a trivia. It's never been as formalized as what the Channel Brewing Company did with established teams and points and totals and a tournament and all that. And I don't know if they still do it. I think they do once in a while. But down the street here, the Abbey, the British pub down the street, I guess you'd call it a British pub, used to do Tuesday night trivia also, or Wednesday trivia. I think it was Wednesday trivia. But it was just everyone could get a card, sign up, and you could just play individually. And I think there were some cash prizes given out towards the end. But it wasn't a team structure thing like what you saw at the Channel Brewing Company. That was pretty impressive. I mean, they had the whole narrator, moderator thing and scoreboard and everything. Of course, as we mentioned before, KXVS fought dramatically to a narrow, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching second-place finish. So, but it'd be nice to bring that back. Now, of course, an upcoming event that we have is Earth Day's coming up on Sunday, April 22nd in Victory Park, which is pretty close to where I live. And I love Hagen Museum, which is in the centerpiece of that park.
And there's always an RTD bus out there also, right?
Usually, yes, and there should be one this year. There has been talk of a shuttle, but I don't have any details tonight that I could give on that. The shuttle would probably operate alternate trips to downtown, to the Downtown Transit Center, and to the Miracle Mile. That was kind of the plan, but I don't know if it's coming out that way or not. So I can't announce anything tonight that will be enough ahead of time for people to plan on it based on this show.
So yeah, if you want more information about Stockton's 30th Annual Earth Day, Sunday, April 22nd, 2018, as Nate mentioned, at Victory Park. Free admission to everybody, by the way. There will be yoga at 9 to 10 a.m., which if you want to come get your mind zenned before Earth Day. Then 10 to 11 a.m., March for Science, which they had last year on a Saturday. This is actually a cool event. They walk around the park with signs and talk about science and basically a march for science. And then the festivities begin at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Live music, entertainment, good healthy food, local food too, family educational event, bike friendly also if you cannot get over there from RTD.
Now, let's not forget also this Saturday, April 14th, and if you're watching a tape delay, it may have already occurred, but for right now, it's still coming up, and we're live tonight. The stock market, and this was something I want to mention too. It's not new. The stock market's been around for 3 or 4 years now. I've lost track. But it's moving back to downtown. After a couple events on the Miracle Mile, which were challenged because of the cost of closing the road and because of the challenge over merchants who were in the footprint and weren't on the footprint. Then they had very successful time at Caldwell Park, which is and I'm sure almost no one knew the name of it was until the stock market moved there. That's the park at the north end of the Miracle Mile next to the little Lucky's, I guess. Is it a Lucky's again?
No, I think it's
It is Save-Mart.
Yeah.
It's Save-Mart now because they don't have the competition for the name.
Yeah.
It was the Stockton and Manteca area stores were called S-Mart and Lodi because a previous chain that had that name.
There's still S-Marts around too.
Yeah, but the Save-Mart chain that they had to concern them, so it went out of business after many, 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 many years, and now Save-Mart can be Save-Mart wherever they want to be, I think. They may have kept the S-Mart name in some places, though, just because it was already established. And Save-Mart, as I know it, started in Manteca, by the way. But anyway, they were Caldwell Park. They did quite well. And I don't want to make too much of this for our visitors, listeners and viewers, but they could not serve alcohol there. But at their new location, which is going to be the Martin Luther King Park, across the street there for the Civic Auditorium, the City Hall, and the Chavez Central Library, they will be able to bring back the all-popular beer garden. So if you can be given some kind of permission or waiver by the city of Stockton for that particular park to bring back the beer garden. When they were in their original downtown location on East Weber Avenue, in what had been a former auto repair location with a big parking lot, which they left because they overgrew it, basically. They used to have alcohol there. They even had full cocktails and I think margaritas in addition to beer, and they had wine. I think this is beer and wine this time. I know it's a beer garden at least, and I think it's beer and wine. But the stock market should do very well there, and it'd be great for downtown. And it also will be great for promoting the group known as Save Downtown Stockton Federation. And Martina Morio was my first ever host on this show. She's the president of the SDSF, Save Downtown Stockton Federation. That's where they want to take the former brass fountain that used to be in the Hunter Square, which has been replaced by the huge, beautiful new courthouse. They want to bring that, I said brass, I believe it's copper, the big spire that the water used to shoot out of, designed by Stockton's iconic, legendary architect, Glenn Mortensen. That's to be a dry exhibit at Martin Luther King Park. By the way, it's 50 feet tall. Most people don't realize it's that tall. But it would be the centerpiece, and it would be the operating piece. I say operating, it doesn't move. But it would be the needle used for a sundial. And Martin Luther King Plaza would become one giant sundial. And I think that's really cool. Unfortunately, there's thousands and thousands of fundraising dollars to go to get there. But I believe they will get there. But the point is, this is the same park where they want to do that. Now at every stock market, they can have their fundraising booth, and they can talk about what they want to do right there in the Martin Luther King Park. I think it's Martin Luther King Plaza, by the way, I believe. Now, DeCarly, I used to say it was DeCarly Plaza, it's DeCarly Square. I got to get my squares and my plazas straight, but I'm pretty sure it's Martin Luther King Plaza. In any event, that's going to be a great location for the stock market. And they've done a Civic Auditorium one. And the Civic Auditorium is right next door. So if they ever needed to expand, they could do a combination of indoor and outdoor with the Civic Auditorium being right there. And then it's a pretty good place to go to. You've got our Route 40 bus express service there, right there on Madison, next to the Civic Auditorium and the University Hotel. And they're pretty close to University Hotel. And they're pretty close to downtown, and they're fairly close to some parking garages. There'll be no problem parking there. So, and the Martin Luther King Park itself has a lot of street parking around it.
Yeah. And tell Amy and Ann we sent you.
Right, that's right. Yeah, Amy Seifert, and they were on this show too. Yeah.
Hey, Nate, we have about 4 minutes left, but do you want to recap the show real quick?
Well, we can recap it by saying that the actual main subject was to talk about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We mentioned at least 16 places that have opened in and around downtown Stockton in just 2 years, and half of those in the past year. And so that's
who says Stockton's not making a comeback?
What you have to realize, we had none of this 2 years ago. We did lose a couple businesses along the way, but they weren't big, viable, trendy businesses like these are. And then, of course, we started the show, and unfortunately, you and I went on a little sports tirade there for a few minutes. But we did throw some Stockton stuff in there about the Thunder and the Ports and the Pacific basketball,
because it was breaking news.
And we forgot to mention Pacific volleyball, by the way. It's women's volleyball, couple national championships.
Yeah.
But anyway, And Delta College has had great basketball at times, football and women's volleyball, among other things. But anyway, we talked about the fact that thanks to our arena, thanks to our ballpark, thanks to University Hotel, thanks to all these positive things that are happening, it's because of these openings, because downtown is coming back, that the Sacramento Kings have decided to bring their NBA developmental team and move it from Reno to Stockton, California, and it will play in the Stockton Arena. And we'll now have two minor league teams playing in the Stockton Arena full-time in the fall with the Stockton Heat, and we don't know the name yet. The Kings have not announced the name for the development
believe they
team.
probably will unveil it next month at the State of the City.
Oh, okay.
The Kings
that's
will
very
be in
possible.
attendance. Yeah.
So despite the recalls that are going on, despite all the controversy over Swenson and Van Buskirk, which we've chronicled before, and we'll follow it and talk about it again, there's all this incredible positive news, and the reason we brought it up today is because two great events happened back-to-back weekdays last week. Trail Coffee opened in a new location on California and Main Street on Wednesday, April 4th, and Unico Women's Hair Salon, super chic, stylish, and sophisticated and beautiful, opened just a few hundred feet away on California Street near Weber. It's called the Unico Salon, Uniqo. It's very trendy, very chic, and very beautiful. And then we mentioned all the other wonderful things happening, not the least of which is KXVS, the voice of Stockton, which we're here to make sure that Stockton gets its word in about itself.
Yes, we are. And if you want to learn more information about the Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, which you're watching us on, or off Facebook Live also. So, Nate, have anything fun upcoming this week besides going to the stock market on Saturday?
Well, I'm going to go to the hockey game on Saturday, which will be their final hockey game of the year. They had a great season, but it looks like they'll miss out on the playoffs.
A very long day for you and Becky, huh?
Yep, stock market, and then we'll walk. I probably will walk to the stock market and then walk to the Heat game, and then later I'll be with friends. We're probably going to have an adult beverage or two after the game, either downtown or on the Miracle Mile is most likely where we're going to go.
Twist and shout.
Yeah. I also do Secret Agent Man now, too.
Oh, you do?
1967 Johnny Rivers.
Hey, that's a great song.
Yes.
Well, it's been Stockton Alive with the one and only Nate Knodt, which you can hear Mondays right here at 6 p.m., the #1 rated show at Mondays at 6 p.m. on the Voice of Stockton KXVS. For Nate, I'm Dustin, and until next time, thank you for tuning in. And again, remember, the Voice of Stockton. For more information, go to thevoiceofstockton.org. Good night.
This program does not reflect the views of KXVS management or KXVS